May 22nd, 2020. A regular domestic flight is scheduled from Allama Iqbal International Airport in Lahore to Jinnah International Airport in Karachi. The plane is an Airbus A320-214, one of the most technologically advanced in the skies and world's best-selling single-aisle airliner. The plane in question is 15 years old and has logged over 47,000 flight hours according to Airbus data. At the command is Captain Sujit Gul, a 54-year-old veteran with 24 years of flying experience and over 4,700 hours in A320 alone. Next to him is a fairly young first officer, Usman Azad. On board were 97 passengers, 51 men, 31 women, and 9 children, most of them traveling back to home to celebrate Eid. Shortly after 1 p.m., the flight 8303 took off from Alama International Airport. And in matter of minutes the flight had reached its assigned cruising altitude. After a 90-minute of uneventful flight, Captain Gould started preparing his plane for landing. ATC assigned them to runway 25L. At around 2:30 p.m., the plane was 15 nautical miles away from the airport, flying at an altitude of 10,000 feet instead of recommended 7,000 feet. When ATC issued their first warning, instead of descending, pilots responded by saying that they were satisfied with the approach. Around 10 nautical miles away from the airport, the plane was at 7,000 feet instead of 3,000 feet. ATC issued their second warning. Pilots again responded that they were comfortable with the approach.
We are comfortable, we can make inshallah.
ATC asked them again.
We are comfortable now and we are out of 3,500 for 3,000 established island 25 left.
Considering the altitude situation of PIA 8303, ATC assigned them another runway. But pilots seemed to keen on 25L.
Sir, we are established on island 25 left. Roger Pakistan 830.
The spread of coronavirus had put the country under lockdown for months, shutting all the modes of transport. Only recently the government had allowed for air travel for people to reach their home in need of time. Most of the passengers on board were returning home after being stuck in Lahore for weeks to celebrate the festival of Eid with their loved ones. As the plane lowered, passengers could see familiar scenes. Their wait to see their family was over now. A few feet over the ground, pilots flared the plane, lifting up the nose. Something was wrong. Passengers could hear screeching sounds and sparks coming underneath of wings. And then pilots pushed forward the throttles to full power as they avoided their landing and decided to go around. The sound of engines at full power was overwhelming the entire cabin. Now avoiding a landing and going around is a common thing in aviation, so it did not trigger panic in the cabin.
303 going around. We report reaching altitude 3,500 feet. For Pakistan 8303, we would like to come again for ILS 25 left.
Descend left heading 110, climb 3000.
Left heading confirm.
Left heading 110, climb 3000.
110, climb 3000, Pakistan 8303.
With that, pilots started to prepare the craft for another attempt at landing, but their troubles were far from over. The pilots were struggling to maintain the assigned altitude.
8303, you are jumping altitude 2000.
Sir, we have just give me 2000.
So maintain 2000.
Things started to get worse. They were unable to maintain even 2000 feet.
It's most value showing 1898 feet at the center.
Copied, sir. We are now maintaining, trying to maintain.
With plane losing altitude, pilots decided to make the go around shorter and turn left heading directly to the runway.
18303 approach.
Yes, sir.
Appears to be turning left.
From the while proceeding that, sir, we have lost engines.
They had lost both the engines. The deafening silence in the cabin was frightening every passenger.
Runway available to land at 25.
Roger.
Tower cleared them for landing. But the plane was dangerously slow. The plane was stalling.
Clear, Mayday, Pakistan 8303.
Finally, at 2:40, pilots declared an emergency.
Pakistan 8303, roger, sir. Both runways available to land.
Tower cleared them for both runways, but it was too far for them. At around 2:42 p.m., Pakistan International Airlines Flight 8303 crashed in Model Colony, a densely populated residential area about 1300 meters short of runway 25. Out of the souls on board, only 2 could survive the crash. How can an aircraft so technically advanced, such a great track record of safety, can crash out of the sky seconds away from touchdown? Now, a formal investigation is under process and we will know the exact reasons for the accidents. However, with the experience, we can tell that it will take years for them to publish the official reports, and our questions cannot wait that long. So, today we'll try to analyze with whatever data available on our hand and try to find out what could be the most probable reason that this horrible accident took place. Now, what do we have on our hands? In any aircraft investigation, two things play major roles: debris of the craft and black box. The debris was available at the crash site, and the black box. For those who don't know, the black box is a data recorder usually situated in the back of the aircraft, which is built to withstand any crash. The recorder has two units: flight data recorder, which records all the inputs given to the plane and its behavior in final minutes of the flight. Second, cockpit voice recorder, which records the conversation between pilots for the last few minutes of the flight. Both the recorders have been extracted safely from the site and have been sent for analysis. Again, it will take some time for us to get our hands on that information, so that is not useful for us right now. Other than that, we have communication between pilots and tower, and some footages clipped by bystanders. So, to start with, let's rewind a bit. During the ILS approach, ATC issued several warnings to pilots about their altitude, which they conveniently ignored. Now, the altitude may not have been a major problem, but with that high altitude, the plane descended faster than normal, which contributed to high speed during descending. Also, during the descent, the craft was supposed to lower the landing gear, but the landing gears were never deployed, and crew had no idea until the very last moment. Now, many other analysts have claimed that the pilots were in coordination with the tower about their gear issues. But honestly, we were unable to find any communication between tower and pilots about the gears. And secondly, belly landing destroys entire aircraft, and pilots cannot make such huge decisions in matter of minutes. If they knew about the gear failure, they would have circled the airport until they could find a solid solution, calling their airlines, the engineers, the Airbus engineers back in France, and once they have exhausted all the options, then only the pilots would go for a belly landing. So it is assumed that the crew only noticed it when they tried to touch down. There's a warning which sets off if you do not have gears and you're very close to the ground. Even then, the pilots could have avoided the landing, but they did not. Why? And that's another mystery. Despite all the odds, the pilots tried the belly landing, but as we all know, it did not work. After the failed landing attempt, pilots pulled up for another attempt. You see, when they tried that belly landing, they actually scrubbed their engines on the tarmac of landing strip. Since engines are the lowest part of aircraft, they basically landed on their engines. When the engines were scrubbing off the tarmac of runway, it is believed that they ruptured their oil lines because in a matter of minutes the engine stopped working. So to say, in second attempt they had no power. They were struggling to maintain their assigned altitude of 3000 feet, and slowly the speed begins to fail. This time another strange thing happened. The nearby camera showed that in the second attempt the landing gears were locked in positions. How did this happen? We'll talk about that in a moment. Now these gears getting deployed was a good thing, right? Not entirely. The plane was already struggling to stay afloat, and now with the gears down, the drag on the aircraft increased dramatically, further slowing down the craft. The craft could no longer stay afloat and it started its journey towards ground and eventually crashed. Now there are two theories behind the mystery of gears. Theory 1. The theory 1 suggests that Airbus has this safety feature where gears would not deploy if the speed exceeds the maximum safe speed for gears. Now we all know that the craft was coming in with speeds higher than the maximum allowed for landing. The theory states that landing gears failed to lock because of the higher speed. Now once you lower the gear lever, there are three indicators to show if the gears are locked in place or not. Three indicators turn green when they are locked in position, but they remained red, and the plane was without its landing gear. The pilots missed it because of all the commotion going in the cockpit due to this unusual approach. And in the second approach, the theory says that due to lack of power, the craft had gotten slow enough for it to deploy the gears. The theory fits in perfectly. Now, the second theory is a little bold. The unusual approach had both pilots engaged in getting the plane lose altitude and speed in a very short period of time. So, there's a chance that the pilots missed out lowering the gears altogether. Now, until we get the cockpit voice recorder, we cannot be so sure about this, and it's very unlikely to happen in a commercial flight. But it is one of the possibility which we can't deny. So the pilots never lowered the gear, and they realized their mistake and manually lowered the gears in second attempt. Now, this theory stands against the theory one. How? Let me explain. When the plane was scrubbing off the runway, it had got slow enough for it to deploy the gears, but it did not. So, theory 2 has an upper hand on theory 1. Now we know it's easy for us to blame the pilots when they are not around to defend themselves, but again, this is just a theory. Surely we'll get our answers once the formal investigation is complete. And more than anyone, we hope that the pilots are not at any fault. With this, we pray for the families of deceased in the accident of Pakistan International Airlines Flight 8303.